Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can watch us on YouTube and Rumble while following us on Facebook, or find us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for past episodes, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe or follow today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good day, everyone, wherever you might be on this spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's The Seance Podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, please click subscribe, like, share, comment, and also don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Today, our guest, a lifelong adventurer, deep thinker, and joyful soul. Born during the polio epidemic and diagnosed as an infant, Ken has never let physical challenges define his journey. From hitchhiking 16,000 miles across the U.S. to backpacking through over 30 countries, his life is a testament to resilience and curiosity. He's earned his degree later in life, fueled by love and geography and philosophy, but his greatest achievement, discovering deep, lasting joy within and proving it's possible for all of us. Since turning 67, he's biked over 8,700 miles across the country, insulin in tow, and this is his story. You don't want to miss it. Let's welcome to the seance for the first time, Ken Reinke. Welcome,
Thank
brother.
you.
How you been?
Very well.
That's
Glad to be here.
Glad you're here. When I heard your story, I'm like, wow, that is a long distance to travel. But we're all travelers, man. We're all travelers. Some don't get to travel as much as others. But what was the conscious aspect of this trip?
You mean the trip across country on my bicycle?
Yeah.
By that time, I have so much traveling under my belt, and I've always enjoyed it. And so it's an adventure, but then I'd gotten older. So after I retired, I was riding my bicycle 100 miles a week.
Yeah.
And then I decided, okay, maybe another adventure is in order. And I set out on a cross-country trip. So it's that addiction to adventure.
Yeah. What now for something like this? It almost reminds me of the Forrest Gump movie. And he just goes and he just starts running, and next thing, boom, off he goes.
That comparison. Oh, I'm sorry.
What was it that triggered it? What was it that you gave? You obviously had to give up something. You obviously probably have sacrificed something in order to put your time into this and energy.
So, not exactly, because I'd been retired for a couple of years and was just riding my bicycle for pleasure.
Yeah.
But I also have this dang adventure bug, which took me to all those countries, took me hitchhiking all over the United States in my youth. And so I was basically freed up by retirement and no excuses.
Yeah. Now, what's your favorite, hitchhiking or bike riding?
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so, of course, the hitchhiking was back when hitchhiking was something you did. Maybe these days people don't really grok that, but there were hitchhikers. There were a lot of us.
Yeah.
And I was living in Florida and working in Alaska, and my work flew me up from Seattle. So I hitchhiked. From Florida to Seattle, and then back at the end of the fall. I just worked 4 months a year up in Alaska at that time. So the cycling, and then it was Asian, foreign countries, 30 of them, backpack traveling. So I've never stopped. And when this came up, I love bike riding. And this trip was going to be easy in that more or less everyone between here and Seattle speaks English.
Thank God for that. What as far now you mentioned that you brought insulin, you had to have insulin with you.
Yes, I became actually in the beginning, I had polio as a 9-month-old. I was diagnosed with polio.
Wow.
So I've always had a kind of substantial limp my entire life.
Yeah.
And the advantage to that is I didn't come down with it while I was already walking. I just grew into it.
Yeah.
I count that as an advantage to me. And then diabetes in my 40s. I came down with type 2 diabetes in my 40s.
Huh. Wow. So take us back in time when this all started, when your travels to all these, what were your favorite places you went, your favorite countries?
I really liked Southeast Asia. But see, when I worked in Alaska and I was off for a great portion of the year and didn't feel like I had to go earn a bunch more money, I'd slap the backpack on and go. So I've been to Latin America, I've been to Asia and Europe and so forth. So Australia.
Any of the mountains?
No, not really. Actually, I just said that, but yeah, I did the Annapurna circuit in Nepal.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been over 17,000 feet.
Wow.
Back when I could walk.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. When I'm from Florida too, so when it comes to low altitude, and getting to those higher altitudes, you definitely you feel it.
Oh my.
Yeah, Mount Shasta. I was there about a month ago, and at 14,000 feet, you're like, all right, something's different.
Oh yeah. There's no question.
Yeah.
Something that I didn't know, I don't know how many people know this, but Mount Everest, in terms of latitude, is like Interstate 4 in Florida, Orlando.
Really?
Yeah, and so you're at 17,000 feet, but down at 3,000 feet, oranges are growing.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, yeah. So tell us some of the most intriguing experiences that you've witnessed. And they could be, I wouldn't say just odd. I know you've got some very interesting stories that you probably tell grandchildren. They'd be like, "What? No way."
Yes, of course, for instance, back when I traveled to Singapore the first time, the only way that friends or relatives could get in touch with me was a letter that took 19 days.
Whoa.
And since then, my wife's daughter has called us from a chicken bus in Thailand. So all that traveling was ancient traveling under much more difficult circumstances than you can even find today. So I'm glad I traveled back then.
Yeah. Yeah. Today we've got so many gadgets, gizmos, and technology that we could bring with us. And
yes.
GPS. GPS. Crap, I didn't even have that when I was in high school. And I don't even think the internet was somewhat just starting. Dial up. Like AOL. It's awful noise. But have you hiked the Appalachian Trail?
No, most of my hiking in the United States has been out west.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been in the Appalachians except in my car.
The Blue Ridge, man, it was beautiful driving through it. And I'd rather drive through it because you get to see more of it quicker.
Right. The majesty of the western states. You can see there's hardly any trees in the upper reaches, and you can see forever. It's really, it's that's always been the draw for me.
Yeah. Yeah, the stuff. Yeah, it's when you're out west and you got the hills, you got all the elevation, just the topography alone. Yeah, you could be at 1,000 feet at such a short amount of time or distance and not even realize it and see everything. Yeah, the Painted Desert, the Grand Canyon,
Oh my goodness.
Utah.
Utah's an
Yeah,
awesome state to see.
man. Have you been to all 50?
Nope.
No.
I've missed Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire.
Ah.
And I was headed there by bicycle, but that trip got cut short, so never made it.
Now, have you ever, as far as inclement weather, what's the worst of inclement weather you've been through?
One night in Alabama, I could see these raging red storms coming across the map on my weather app and couldn't get out of it.
Oof.
I was stuck, and I was in a really small town. And so, yeah, I set up my tent and just basically everything was wet by morning.
Yeah.
And luckily it was temperature like the low 70s. So I was laying in my bag of wet feathers,
Oh,
and
man.
I wasn't freezing. I was just like, okay, it's enough of this.
Now what? No, look, I see so many different bikes out there. You got the traditional bike, or you got one of those like 3-wheel type things that you can sit down and.
No, it's just a 2-wheel bike. It's called a Surly Long Haul Trucker, but it's a rigid steel frame because I'm a road rider. I'm not a gravel biker.
Yeah.
No mountain biking. It's a road bike, but a rigid frame and 30 speeds.
Wow.
So when I leave my carport on my however many trips I've been on, I have 50 pounds of gear on the bicycle.
Whoa.
It's effortful.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you are still. I would have to ask. You are still active in doing it. It's riding.
I'm all the way down to 130-mile ride a week.
Whoa.
Yes and no. Yeah. So yeah, still doing it, but it's been hot, and I might pick up more rides once it gets down below 85.
Yeah, it's been brutal here in Florida and most of the country too. We've hit 90. I was up in. I think what was it? Yeah, I was up in camp up in North Florida, Stark, Florida. Just south.
Very close to me.
Yeah, up there on Camp Blanding, and 123-degree index. And people like, I ain't bad. We're out west. I'm like, you got the dry heat. We've got a swimming pool.
Exactly. Yeah, 97% humidity almost every morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your favorite? If you could pick the perfect weather, the perfect atmosphere, the perfect arrangement of getting on that bike and just going and not stopping, what would be that perfect day? Climate, just.
Yeah, 65 degrees is pretty dang wonderful.
Yeah.
To maybe 75 if you're asking for perfect, and overcast.
Oh, yeah, the heck with the sun. That'll cook you.
Yeah, I can hardly take it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually crossed on my Seattle trip. I crossed Kansas, and it was 65 degrees every afternoon. But of course, I had to leave here in Florida on April 1st, so that by the time I got there, it wasn't too hot yet.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, Kansas and Iowa, and that could be such a furnace.
Yeah.
If you get there in the summer. Huh. So that's part of the issue also, though, is if you're riding to Seattle, look at all the climates that you need to go through to get to Seattle. So when would you start? And
I can imagine that ride, man. I can imagine on a motorcycle. I could definitely imagine. I used to ride motorcycles grew up on a motorcycle. And I mean, that I could definitely imagine, but I've never taken a long road trip like that. I don't even think I'd be able to walk anymore if I got off a bike. But
walking for me was already an issue. If you saw me walk, you wouldn't believe that I could ride down to the Walmart.
really,
But I'm 74 now, so I'm on that backside,
yeah.
and things don't generally get any better. But just this spring, I thought one more trip across the country.
Wow.
And I left here with my 50 pounds of gear, but I quit at 450 miles. I just said, no, it's just, I can't push off with my left leg anymore, hardly. So I had a couple of those push off, barely get started, and then fall down.
Eesh.
And so I don't need to be out there doing that.
Yeah.
So I just rented a car and came home. So the loaded bike cross country trips, they're behind me, no question. I actually still think, though, that I could do a supported trip where somebody carries all your junk and then all you have to do is ride it, which sounds blissful to me.
Yeah, go with a group too. Go with more than a few other riders too. That way you get the support and stuff, and you don't feel alone. Not that you'd be alone, but it's like, all right, got some extra people here.
However, all of my biking has been alone. So that trip to Seattle was 77 days alone. And the thing is, you have the most wonderful personal encounters when you have them.
Yeah.
You know, because people would see an old man riding up on a bike, loaded bike, and you're like, what's up here?
Yeah.
And then I'd talk to him a while, and no, it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. And this is important maybe for the Seance podcast, but alone is a state of being and lonely is a state of mind.
Yeah.
I overcame that a long time ago, and I'm never lonely. And you can imagine biking and doing what I call stealth camping by myself for very long periods of time.
Yeah. I can imagine too, 77 days, you must have had a lot of very interesting internal reflections on yourself and the world.
To me, it's what they say, which to me is 100% true, one day at a time. Every day, I basically had all the time in the world to get to Seattle, but I knew that it was going to take around 2.5 months, and that's exactly what it took. I thought it might take 3 if I had to. Anything goes down, anything goes wrong. Yeah, I might have to add some time to that, but it didn't. And it was an awesome trip.
Yeah. Now, is the trip there and back?
No.
I was about to say, it's like, whoa.
Actually, so 1,000 miles into the trip, I started a GoFundMe, and people were telling me, if you're going to make this trip, start a GoFundMe, but I can't do it unless I've got 1,000 miles behind me, because I don't want to have to return a bunch of money because I said I was going to do it and didn't. And so at 1,000 miles, I thought, I'm going to go for some support. And I got a GoFundMe and put that out there, and people were pretty excited for me. So my trip was paid for. By the time I got to Seattle, my trip was paid for.
Wow. And did you fly back, or how'd you?
Yes, I flew back and flew my bike back.
Wow.
Technically, I flew up to Alaska first, but sent my bike back to Florida. And because I also worked in Alaska for a lot of years.
Yeah.
So have friends up there.
I can imagine that trip too, from Washington State to Alaska too, is quite I have never been up. The furthest I've been to the Pacific Northwest is Mount Shasta, Redding, California.
Oh,
So I can imagine how much better it gets.
And even that's pretty good. I lived in California for a while, but yeah, and I don't know, you get to see everything. It's hard to describe how wonderful biking is if you like biking.
Yeah.
And I have a tremendous ability to stay in that saddle and love it. And so I got to see the southern states and the plains states. I got to be chased by dogs in almost every state.
Any sheriff, any of the law, they pull you over? Hey, are you lost? Are you okay?
You know, what's funny is, yes, I had at least 6 encounters with policemen, and only one was actually breaking a law, and I was breaking a pretty bad one. I was bicycling on the Muskogee Turnpike.
Oh.
But where I got on the turnpike, there were none of those signs that you usually see on high-speed 4-lane roads that say no bicycles, no pedestrians. There was none of that. And Google Maps bicycle was telling me to get on this thing. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't look right. And the best ride there, because you have a 10-foot lane to yourself.
Yeah.
And a rumble strip between you and the traffic. It's almost the safest travel possible. But I had a tailwind. I had a 13-mile-an-hour tailwind. So I'm cruising until I came up to a toll booth. And then I was like, oh, this isn't going to go very well for me. And I was wrong about that. Because in the toll booth, the people, they said, we have to call the police. And I said, okay. Honestly, I don't fear things anymore. I have almost no fear of that anticipatory kind of fear. And I'm like, okay, I'm stuck. I'll sit here. And then when the policeman drives up, he comes up in a regular patrol car.
Yeah.
And I've got my bicycle with 4 panniers. Me and this bicycle are not going to be getting in that car. And so I'm like, and he was stern looking, and he was probably afraid of himself getting in trouble, because I said, I wouldn't have got on here if there had even been one prohibitory sign back there 13 miles where I got on.
Yeah.
And he, maybe, I don't know what was in his mind, but in the end, he goes, 4 miles down is the next exit, get off the interstate. So he let me ride my bike down it wasn't interstate, it was turnpike.
Yeah.
But anyway, even that decision had to be a little hard for him.
Yeah.
And he wasn't effervescent, but all the other police encounters were. In fact, half of them said, they'd go, you're from where? And they'd go, I'm inspired. Yeah, no, I had good encounters often, most of the time, even with stranger pedestrians or whatever, in restaurants and little stores. No, wonderful.
Wow. Huh. Now, I wanted to introduce your book here. Let me bring it up. For those who would like to purchase it, where can they find your book?
Okay, The Road Spoke is available on Amazon, but it's also available anywhere books are sold. I put it through Ingram Spark that supplies all the non-Amazon customers.
Yeah.
Yes, and if I may, it's not just about the bicycle trip, because when I got back to Florida after the trip to Seattle, which this book, the setting of this book is the trip to Seattle.
Yeah.
But it's also got anecdotes. There's 2 near drownings in it and stuff from my life of traveling. And so there's orangutan encounter. I just thought that maybe a little too much road biking would be boring.
Yeah.
But also, the reason I wrote the book is the thread that runs through it, when I got back here, a very good, very long time friend of mine said, how did you do it? How did, a 69-year-old polio survivor, diabetic, ride solo 3,700 miles? And while the rest of us are sitting on our couches. And I thought about that, and that's what inspired writing the book, because what I'm covering in there is the kind of thing that really the seance is all about.
Yeah.
What's the mindset? What's going on here while you're doing something like that?
Yeah.
So that's the main thread, the whole reason I wrote the book.
And it's the choices we make too, because like when you said, how can somebody do that while everybody else is sitting on their couch? And I was like, in the back of my mind, I'm going, because everybody's sitting on their couch. All you got to do is choose to get up off the couch and ride a bike or walk or hike or backpack or something, go camping.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes. We're in more control than we think we are, but I can make the opposite argument too. So
yeah. It seems, what's the word? Yeah. Simulation. Are we really in control, or it's like a little bit of the play of both sides.
And the aha moment in my life that sent me down the path that I am so thankfully on now was a long time ago. I was in my late 20s. I studied philosophy, not just in college, but also on my own all the time. I studied religions and stuff like that because I've always been wondering what exactly is going on here. And my childhood was such, when I got out of high school, I was like, all adults are just older children. And so I was a little bit angry back then. But then in my late 20s, I read Think on These Things by J. Krishnamurti. And that was my first exposure to non-duality or the oneness.
Yeah.
And it rocked me. It shook my foundation, because my foundation was what I would call back then normal. You go get your job and all of that normal push, which I'm thankful to hear, like, for instance, on your podcast, that we're breaking out of that.
Yeah.
There seems to be some breaking away of that. So what luck.
Yeah. I hope it's true that there's some sort of a quickening happening, an awakening of people starting to realize that we need to pay more attention. We need to be apprehensive. We need to start disconnecting from this matrix that we think that we have to be part of,
which I call the norm.
Yeah. And it's not to say that we're not supposed to be part of it or that we can't be part of it. It's just, It's like when we're children, we're having too much sweets. Parents take, not too much, just a little bit, just one soda a day. Like,
right. Yeah.
So what, with all, like you said, being out there and just on these rides, and I can almost feel the freedom, this freedom out there. What does that freedom to you, what does that mean to you today?
Yes, it's a freedom that cannot be described. But in part, the whole trip, the first 6 or 7 days, I'm like, what in the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
But when I got over that, like I was at my friend's house in Mississippi, and I'm looking and I'm going, Denver, my next stop, my next people, 1,000 miles away. But by then I am so over the hump that it's like 1,000 miles. So what? Let's go. Ready to go.
Yeah.
But it's a funny freedom though, because I do something called stealth camping. So I never plan my stops. I ride until about 6 p.m. and then I start looking. Where am I going to hide out? If there's woods, it's usually easy, but I do not plan my stops. And that freaks some people out, but I love traveling that way. Plus, I'm not overwhelmed with money, so I couldn't make the trip if I wasn't doing a tremendous amount of stealth camping.
Yeah.
But the freedom is indescribable. You get up in the morning, get on the bike, go. How far will I get today? Have no idea. Doesn't matter. So it's just impossible to describe that kind of freedom. And another thing that I've talked at some book things and about biking for long distance, I said, as soon as you can let go of the goal, let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go is, to me, I think, is the only happiness. Our happiness is defined by what we're able to let go of. Desires, Buddhism, actually, the basis of Buddhism is that.
Yeah.
And although I understand how hard it is to let go of certain things and it takes work and stuff like that, but no, you let go of the goal and all you have is the essence of the ride, which is frankly what we're all experiencing, whether it's on a bicycle or walking or our lives. It's the ride.
Yeah.
And when you let go, it's impossible not to enjoy. I'm sorry, but I run into stuff. Stuff happens. There were a couple times that Google Maps bicycle led me to a bridge that wasn't there.
Whoa.
So now you're like, oh, okay, guess I got to go find another way.
Oh, man.
But we are faced with that in our entire lives, that kind of thing. And man, if you can let go, wow, lucky. I consider my life lucky.
Yeah, that was, man, the way you described it, the way you described me, I'm just like soaking it up. I'm like, whoa, that's like the perfect way. And then how I translated it is, we are so obsessed in the end product of everything. We look so far ahead in the future and so worried about stuff. How's this going to work? How's that going to work? Blah, 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 blah. This is what I want to do, and we're not paying attention to the journey. We got to be in the pay more attention on being in the here now, in the moment, rather than focusing and worrying about, like you said, the goal.
Yeah, so beautiful. The dedication of my book is to the essence, because that's what I see now. It's all essence. I see oneness now, but that's also hard to describe.
Yeah.
So.
Before we wrap up the show, again, where can people find you? They can either email you and where they can find your book.
Yes, Amazon, of course, and anywhere books are sold. And in the epilogue of my book, I have an author email in there. I've tried, I just can't do social media. You're not going to find me on there. But I answer any emails that come to me, I answer them. So it's a surefire way of getting in touch with me.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, here's one more thing. Can I have a minute?
Absolutely.
So I was doing a talk in California, and this lady came to my talk who was about my age, and she had been a swimmer back when. And she said her swimming coach said that doing something like this, like anything, but doing something like this, he said it's 90% mental and the other 10% is mental. And I'm like, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Man. Before we go, I ask all of our guests to, if you have a takeaway to leave the audience today, some words of wisdom.
So this is not new wisdom, but awareness. You can understand almost anything you need to know about people by just watching yourself. Like a cat watches a mouse hole, though, not every now and then checking in. No, but awareness, so beautiful.
Yeah. We gotta be aware. Situational awareness too. Look at everybody. They're staring at their phones. They're not even looking straight ahead. I say a lot of the most beautiful things are stuff that you're not supposed to see is either up there or straight ahead of you.
And I am lucky enough that I just call it the miracle. I think naming miracles is silly because it's all miracle. Such luck.
Yeah. Because I tell you what, tomorrow's never guaranteed. And there's many people out there that don't have the pleasure of sight, of feel, of touch, of certain senses that we got.
No.
Be blessed and be grateful for what we do have.
Totally.
Yeah. Ken, blessings, my friend. Thank you so much.
Same to you.
Very, very,
Best
very
wishes.
Welcome. Definitely. Same to you. Thank you, everybody, for watching the Seance Podcast. And until next time, we will see you then.